So we have another 14-point day on the Gexray. This one's got some pretty cool order flow associated with it though, so I definitely wanted to do another video, even though it's very similar to the one yesterday. Um, we had, going into this trade, we looked weak. The Russell was weak today. We did have a bid on the NASDAQ. So I was scalping around basically. I mean, I was just looking for opportunities for good entries and then playing the levels that we have. And it had been an okay day up to this point. I had a pre-market trade. Turned out to be about 7 points. I think it was a little shorter, 6 points. Which I don't trade pre-market very often, so I'll take 6 points in pre-market. And then I had a short, which I wasn't really looking for the short, but it just developed. Everything looked really good on it. It was in a good location. But this is going into that. This is where the trade really started setting up, the one I want to talk about. And so the way it started, I'm just watching price action. I took this short here. We came in, I was looking for sellers around 70. I wanted to hold it. I was looking for the put wall, the possibility that we could get down to the put wall. But I said it was a good entry. So when I see a good entry, I want to take one. It's better than watching a trade go without me. I'd rather get a safe entry and nothing happened with it. I had 2 of those in the morning where, I saw an entry short, got in, I basically just scalped right back out of it for break even. I saw an entry long. I might have lost a point or 2 on it. Less than a point. I went long at 61.50, got out for 60.75. I'll take those because don't know what they're going to develop. And from the morning, we're at a pretty good location at the lows. Went along in pre-market. Thought about holding on to it for the rest of the day, but I thought we'd revisit this area. Just figured just take what I can get. It was a small trade. I said I don't trade pre-market much. The point is, so we looked short. I was looking for buyers here, but I was hoping to get continuation and then potentially add on the other side of those day-generated levels. But just saw a lot of buying in there, and we had jolts come out. And just something changed in the auction. After jolts, something looked a little more bullish. And so I was just watching price action. And then out of nowhere, here comes someone with 1,600 lots at 76. I got a picture here. Yeah, somebody's showing 1,600 on the offer. And, my instant thinking was that person doesn't want to be short. I can't say what their intention was, but that was just my first thought, because everybody knows as soon as you show size like that in the book, immediately price is going to drop. You're going to see sellers front running them. And, I just the way it developed, right? So I'm watching at this point. I said right here, I think he wants his long filled. So I think he, potentially, I don't know if it's true or not, but it works out as far as the trade's concerned. I think he put that size in the book because he wanted to fill his passive buy orders. And that's just holding the market down. Everybody sees it. They want to front run it. The market already looked kind of weak because we'd had this move down here. And so price came down at that point. A lot of selling came in. I was just looking for my entry. Thinks he wants his long filled. I have no idea, but it might disappear. So I was looking for, potentially a look that he had gotten filled, and then for him to pull that size out of the book, and then for price to take off. So I wanted to try to find an entry long so I could be a part of that. Let's see. People say it's a trick. Just talking about, this isn't something I came up with. So a lot of people talk about these, tricks that people will play. Anybody that's going to trade that kind of size has the ability to put iceberg orders in and hide that order and just sit there and reload them until it's all gone. Because as soon as you put that big size in there, the market will run away from it. If you want it filled, it's best to run an iceberg. But where do we see ice? We see buy ice. So that sell order pushes right into buy ice and just kept filling that ice. I'm assuming that was the same person. So explaining what that is to somebody. So we saw ice come in at 74. I think we saw about 1,000 orders go through. And we saw it again at 70. And then I went long. So this is where I got long on this trade. And then if we look at the Gexray, let's see, I got my pen here. So this trade that we're covering here, this is where I went long. And that would be right about, where's it at? Right about here on the book. Right there at GWAP too. Really good location. So went long there, and then pretty quickly, same minute, had my stop at cost because it started moving right away. Down to a runner now, a minute later. So 1 minute into the trade, basically, I have all risk off. All I have left is a runner. And just kind of narrating the trade, I'm looking for that big order to fill or disappear. I'm leaving this runner until break even or the call wall. So I was confident enough that we were going to get up to the call wall that at that point, you know, I'm just leaving my runner on. It's either got to stop me out or it's going to get up to the call wall. So scroll through some of this. I'm more confident that the big order is there to hold the market down. If he wanted to be filled so bad, he would show that. He wouldn't show that size. He would already move down. And you'll see that a lot of people put in big size in the book. Generally, those people trading that size, they'll put it far enough away that it takes a little while for the market to get up there. When you see people come in right above the bid ask and they want to get filled really bad or they want to push the market down. If they want to get filled really bad, as the market is moving away from them, then you'll see that order move down, and then they might just sweep the book and take it down with them. We never saw that. And then going over again, after he put that order in, we saw buy ice at least twice. Very, very suspect. RTY back at the 3-day VWAP. So I'm watching everything, seeing how the rest of the market's lining up, the internals, the Russell, because the Russell was pretty weak at that point. We're getting down to a point where I thought the Russell could bounce. I was making a double bottom. Here we go. 1,700 lots of 76. We'll see if he fills or pulls. So I'm still long. Got nothing to do but just watch the trade and let the tools work. Here's a snapshot. This is where the bid ask was at this point. And there's that 1,600 orders in there. Talking about some other stuff. It filled. Someone took all of it. So we can actually see in the book. We can see in the book where he got filled. And this is a pretty good example here. This green line right here, that's where he came in with that size. And what happened as soon as he came in with that size, the market dropped. We come up, we see people front running. We just see a lot of selling. If this guy really wanted to get filled, he would have chased us down. We didn't see that. Instead, what we saw is ice coming in, soaking these people up. We saw ice here. We saw ice here, 74. We saw ice at 70. And then I got filled down here. The market went against me first and then started to go. Let's see. Runner is offered at 83.75. So that's where I put my order initially. I'm talking about this as a weekly and a monthly OU. So I'm getting my bearings. I know where the wall's at. So I know ultimately where the target's at. And it's my job to decide what I want to do with that. Do I want to run it a little ahead of the call wall? Do I want to put it beyond the call wall, suspecting that it might move, at least give it the opportunity to? And there's a reason why. There has to be some thought put in this because of the way that we know these walls work. So I'm talking about that a little bit here. This is the weekly and monthly OU. So I'm looking at basically where the mid's at for the week and the month. That's at 80. So change of plans. I'm moving my target above the call wall. On the first rejection, because we know how these work, on the first rejection, I'm going to look to add. And if we have size there, which I'll show in a minute, I'll try to hold a runner past the first wall in case it moves up. So what we look to do here is we look to have enough size going into the wall that we can make sure that we have our risk off and we can hold at least part of our position here. Because a lot of times what we see at these walls is we see what I think are dealers. They're sitting there with size and they're I'm not going to talk too much about what I think that they're doing because it's just a theory, but you know, I think that size sitting there, we can see those orders in the book, what size they are, where they are in the queue, if they reload or not, and see it time and time again. And once they get to that wall, they'll get stuck there. And then until they take all those orders out, it'll stick, it'll pin. And you have time to decide what you're going to do with your position. That's very key. That's very key to using this tool. So I entered at 16, just answering somebody else on something there. I was talking, reading the chat. So I think I missed the place where I should have added. So I missed that opportunity, but that's okay. It may not work, but I'll have room where it does. It'll be a killer trade. If it doesn't, I'll just get out break even. So that runner, I've already taken the risk off. That runner now buys me the time and the room to decide what I'm going to do with my trade. I can add, and I'll still have a lower cost. You know, I can end up getting out break even still, and it'll be no risk on the runner. And if it does move up, then I got into a safer trade that had lots of room to the stop. I basically bought more room on my stop. And then if that wall keeps moving, we know once they start moving, we can follow that wall up potentially all day long. So let's see, what are we looking at here? Decent MBO size. That's what I wanted to see. So when you look, we saw decent, not great, but we saw some decent size there. We actually did see some more size in, which is another thing that we're accustomed to there. So I'm talking about decent MBO size where it's getting pinned. So we see as we get up into that trade, let's see, remember where this is at. So as we get up in here, we start getting pinned. You know, instead of making a V top like this, where it just runs away really fast, when we have these tools line up and we have size and the other things we look at line up, then we get this kind of action. We have time to decide what to do. This is a pretty long time getting stuck up at new highs. These are 1 minute candles. My target is 87.50. I might still add if we get a good looking pullback. Size is gone. So all those orders got taken, all those big MBO orders.
Japan manufacturers index expected to reach +8 in March. Non-manufacturers index to reach +24.
So the size is gone. So that's done. Check. Now we're waiting for signs for this wall to move up, and it looks similar to this, but only in the other direction, right? If that wall moves up, then it's my job to hang on. I've got another 5, 10 points in the trade, wherever that wall moves to. So I'm watching it. The wall's not moving. We're pretty pinned here. That wall's legit. It's holding is what I'm saying. You know, I wanted to see some signs that were moving up here. I mean, this is a solid area here that's just not budging. I never see price hang at the highs unless there's a wall there and some size. We're talking about it getting pinned up here. Now I had to move my target down. So moving my target to 86.50 below. I want to be below the 80 strike on SPX. And there's a big seller that came in at 86.75. So there was somebody front running, you know, not me, they don't care about my size, but there was somebody moving their bid down. So I start seeing the offer lower and the wall's not moving. So I'm starting to think about an exit on this position. Somebody else said they just exited. I said, I'm close to. And then out 14.50, 14 and a half points, back-to-back days with 14 on the Gexray. So, I mean, you can see the fill here. That's high day. It's a pretty good fill. You know, that's a pretty good trade right there, 14 points, especially on a day where I don't know what the range was, but it probably wasn't that good. That's actually a little above. So that was a little more than half of the range for the day. It's outstanding. You see things like that. You know, it's why I watch so many different things. If you look at my charts, you know, I look at the different markets. I look at balance areas. I'm looking at the overnight levels, the previous day levels, 2 days ago levels, different VWAPs. I'm looking at mids, bands, heat maps, book map. I'm looking at a lot of different stuff, and all that stuff combined, you start to get a really good sense. I start to get a really good sense of where these levels are likely to be at, and when they make a lot of sense. And then it's my job to get in a position and, to find a good entry, because a lot of time there's a lot of noise in between these areas. So get in where I can get a good entry, and then my job is to hold on until we get to a wall, whether that's a put wall or whether that's a call wall. And I mean, this is something that it happens again and again every day. And I can't talk enough about it, but this tool alone, maybe you're good enough to pick those spots and stay in them. But with the other tools, with the people we have, that are talking about other things that they see, it's a really nice combination. It's really nice to be able to once you get in these entries, to be able to just sit there and let it happen. So this was 10:08, and the entry was 9:26. So a little over 30 minutes, but confident that it's going to work out and being risk off. Can't ask for much more than that. If anybody has any questions on that, I love talking about the order flow. I love talking about the Gexray and the gamma levels, and just putting all these things together. So if anybody has any questions, drop them down there in the chat or reach out, DM me, send me a message. I love talking about it.